Hello, welcome back to my channel, Texas Gal Treasures. In today's video, we're going to be looking at some vintage toys that are worth thousands of dollars. I'm going to show you things that have actually sold on eBay in the last 90 days that have sold for thousands of dollars. If you enjoy videos like these, then consider subscribing to my channel and let's dive in. Right off the bat, we're going to look at ventriloquist dummies. Let's rip off that band-aid and look at these fellas. These are ventriloquist dummies. Some of them are vintage, some are antique, some are not. But here I have got it just sorted by ventriloquist dummy, completed and sold listings. There are 692 results for this. And as you can see, there are quite a few that have sold for thousands and thousands of dollars. What's the common denominator? When I do things like this, I try to see what's the common factor so I know what I'm looking at, because not all ventriloquist dummies are going to be worth this kind of money. But what I'm noticing are ones that are vintage, unique ones, ones that are maybe one of a kind. And then this guy, the sheriff, it seems like the same kind of style, just kind of kooky characters, right? Let's look at a couple of ones more in depth. So this is Edgar Bergen's Mortimer Snerd. That name is enough, right? Then this just is 1930s professional ventriloquist dummy, over $3,000. Here we've got this guy just chilling, Casey. He's over here worth $3,000. And then Charlie McCarthy, he's like the standard. I've seen a lot of reproduction Charlie McCarthys. And then this is the Twilight Zone prop replica, sold for over $2,000. When I look on Terapeak, you have access to Terapeak if you have the eBay seller hub. And I just type in ventriloquist dummy, not even antique or vintage or anything. It's still like a 57% sell-through rate at $144. So even if it's not a vintage or antique one worth thousands and thousands, you still might be looking at a ventriloquist dummy that's worth hundreds, if you can stand having him in your house until he sells. The next item is vintage Lego, and I'm not talking about the Lego building bricks, same company, but the other toys that they used to make, like this Lego vintage duck, this cat, these pull toys. So they were wooden toys, and they say Lego Denmark on them. Let me pull that up so you can see it better. So there on the tag, you can see Lego company, Lego something Denmark. So if you see that Lego Denmark logo on a vintage wooden toy, then you may be looking at hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Here is the duck. Again, you can see that logo right there. When I was doing the research for this video, I was noticing that there were a lot of tin toys and metal toys, and it's easy to just blanket statement and say all tin toys, metal toys. They're all worth looking at, but I really wanted to hone in on which ones, if I'm looking at a pile of them and I can only pick one, right? What am I going to go for? So I saw over and over again that the motorcycles, whether they were tin motorcycles or cast metal, we'll get to those in a second, were selling very frequently for thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So here you can see quite a few in the thousands of these tin type motorcycles. There's some other tin type toys in here, the wind up, but motorcycle, over and over again, right? So here's one that sold for $5,000. This one over $3,000. This one had the box. This is an Indian motorcycle. Here's another one, sidecar wind up, just multiple over and over again in the thousands. So definitely if you see a motorcycle wind up toy. And then I wanted to distinguish, because I was like, oh, it looked like there were more when I was doing the research. But then when I searched it by tin toy versus cast iron, there's a difference. So the cast iron ones also sell really well. So here you can see Popeye, Indian, Harley. So cast iron, basically vintage metal motorcycle toys, definitely worth the pickup. Here's this one in closer detail. Hopefully, I mean, I would think if I saw something like this, I would pick it up. But then again, I would still have to educate myself on, like, is it a replica? Is it a not? You know, and then sometimes it doesn't matter. Replicas can still sell really well also. The next thing is not necessarily one particular toy, but a brand, and it's Mark's Toys. And I want you to familiarize yourself with the kinds of toys that they create. They had a lot of these remote control, like early remote control type toys. Here's an abdominal snowman right? There's another one. There's quite a few Frankensteins I saw unsold, but then they also make these play sets. So here's like this Air Command play set. There's some other places, but also this tanker truck. I pulled some up. Let's look. Abominable Snowman, very early remote control toy, over $3,000. Then here's this play set. I feel like I've seen one of these play sets out in the box in my many outings looking at stuff. This tanker truck, I would not have necessarily known that this was a hot commodity, but this Billups tanker truck, there were multiple of them sold for in the thousands. Then this guy, the Kooky Spooky Whistling Tree, there are a number of him sold for over $1,000 as well. He's so kooky. Honestly, I'm like, I'd have a hard time selling him, I think. He's so fun. But look at the picture. A wind-up toy. I should have found a video of him going. But again, here are the boxes of what these play sets would look like. Just a dusty old box, right? So we're looking at over $1,000, but there were multiple ones. Wagon Train. Then there was this one that's Arctic Explorer. There were a couple of like D-Day, like Invasion Day miniature sets for $1,000. And here's this one wasn't quite 1,000, but 800 something for Frankenstein. Mark's Toys. Keep that in mind. The next company is Buddy L, and I could have narrowed it down further because they make trucks and trains and all kinds of things. But as I was looking at that, it kind of didn't matter. So as long as you know Buddy L, then if you see it, pick it up. Because look at this old antique rusty train sold for almost $2,500. And I'm not sure if I saw this rusty train sitting at a garage sale, I would have thought, you know what? I had to pick that rusty train up because it isn't my forte. But now I'm going to look again and say, oh, you know what? This is a Buddy L. I don't know much, but I do know that. I'm going to pick it up. So Buddy L pressed steel truck, $2,500. Wow. Here's another one. It's very similar, 23. And then this is like a long bus for 23. And then an express truck at over $1,000. Next up are Pelham puppets. And this one I saw when I was doing my research, and I really wanted to highlight it because I have actually sold one of these. I had a Pelham puppet. It was in there Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. I couldn't quite determine, but it was really cute. I think I sold it for $600. Again, I should have pulled up a picture. Maybe I can pop it in here when I'm editing. But the ones that I kept seeing, especially that sold recently, looked like the same seller perhaps had a collection, and a lot of them were the Alice in Wonderland ones. So from the story, not necessarily the Disney. So the fish, Prince, and then we're looking at the March Hare, $1,800. The Frog Prince. And then when I was doing this research, I also saw, I kind of gravitated towards the wind-up submarines because I thought that was very interesting with the metal wind-up submarines. But there weren't quite as many sold as some of the boats. So I went ahead and wanted to show you some of these wind-up tin toy boats that have sold for in the thousands. Here's one kind of reminiscent of the Titanic. Then this other one looks like a little flat paddle boat. Is it a paddle wheeler? Yeah, paddle boat. Pretty cool. Almost $2,000, you guys. Seriously. Leviathan. Is that what that says over there? $1,300 on this one. And then this is the submarine. I was like, that is really cool. $1,500 on that. And then I have a soft spot in my heart for Popeye and olive oil. So there were a lot of Popeye toys. So if you see Popeye out there, it's worth checking out because here's like a cast iron Popeye. We saw him earlier. It's a sculpture. This is not even a vintage thing, but there were multiples of those. So if you see a Popeye sculpture with all these funky metallic colors, definitely. We looked at this Popeye motorcycle earlier. Then, Popeye first edition comic book, $2,200. And it's not all vintage Popeye stuff. These are Popeye skateboard decks, more wind-up toys, and then there were some glasses. There are some Popeye glasses that aren't as valuable, but some of the more obscure characters, and some of these were prototypes, Alice the Goon, and then this one was She-Hag. So if you see some Popeye-esque characters and you're not sure about them, it's worth taking a peek and looking them up. Thanks so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed videos like these, please subscribe to the channel. And I've got a playlist here with other things that are selling for high value and fast sell-through rates. See you on the next one. Bye.